What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the JW Sports Talk Show, fans. Welcome right here. We're back. We're officially ready to rock and roll for our Indianapolis Colts and Cleveland Browns recap. So the Cleveland Browns. No, hold on. Okay, hold on. All right, how to fix that? Couldn't listen to that in my ear. But the Indianapolis Colts lose to the Cleveland Browns. The refs, kind of both. I mean, you could blame the refs as much as you can. Everyone's going to point towards the ref, right? The refs right away. But it's really, there's a lot more than just a few bad calls at the end that led to the result of this game. Now, I know it was really negatively impacted by the referees, and it was a part in why we lost yesterday, but it wasn't the biggest reason. And you guys know I'm not one to go to the refs and say, hey, it's the refs' fault. It's because of the refs we lost. No, that is not the full reason why we lost. It's not the biggest reason why we lost. We also have to look at Gardner Minshew. He turned the ball over 4 times. He fumbled 3 times. He threw an interception. The same case was with the week prior. Gardner Minshew has turned the ball over quite a bit, and I think that that's a bigger part in the reason why we lost. We were able to put up almost 40 points. Wow, Gardner Minshew turned the ball over 4 times. That's impressive within itself. That is very impressive to put up almost 40 points. You turn the ball over 4 times, and you're playing an elite defense, one of the best in the league, if not the best. Well, objectively, it was the best going into that week. Browns defense was very good, and the Colts almost put up 40. They put up damn near 500 yards of offense. So the Colts lose their Week 7 matchup, to the refs, Browns. They fall to 3-4. Like I said, many are going to point out the refs, and the refs did have a very negative impact in this game, especially towards the end. Let's talk about those 2 penalties at the end. So the pass interference that was called, that was not pass interference. If they could only call they should only call pass interference if it was catchable. That ball was not catchable. I don't think anyone on planet Earth can catch that football. That was almost into the stands. So I don't understand how that's not how that is a pass interference. Yeah, maybe Darrell Baker tugged him a little bit, but he was out of bounds. So maybe they could still call that some kind of pass interference, even though the ball wasn't catchable. It still tugged on him, but the ball wasn't catchable in the first place. So could you really call that pass interference? That's not really, you can't really do that. But and then the other one, the holding on Darrell Baker on Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper got wide open in the play, and Amari Cooper ended up, he didn't even score a touchdown. That was the play where we jumped on a fumble. I believe AJ Speed forced it, and Buckner jumped on it. Unfortunately, it was reversed. It became non-existent when the refs called illegal contact and Darrell Baker on Amari Cooper. And now if you go back and watch the play, Darrell Baker didn't really affect his route that much. Amari Cooper, if anything, put Darrell Baker on his back. It wasn't like it was violent or is it bad, or it should have been a penalty on Cooper. There should have been no penalty in the first place in that game. That's, it was bad. It was bad. But, the Colts do lose, and there's other things in this game that went wrong, and we'll talk about it as we go. So, while the refs are horrible, the Colts are to blame for this loss. At the end of the day, there's a lot of other factors that go into the result of an NFL game. You got turnovers, you have sacks, you have blocked field goals. There's or you fumble the football and that leads to 6. All these happened this weekend. Gardner Minshew was responsible for 4 turnovers. All of them gave the Browns offense great field position. Every single one gave the Browns really good field position. It really helped that offense out, and it really didn't help the defense. And you could go ahead and blame the defense and say, oh, the defense is horrible. They allowed the Browns a backcourt to score almost 40. Well, if you go back and you watch the game, you see that Gardner Minshew turned the ball over 4 times. And one of those times was actually recovered for a touchdown for the Browns. So that's another 6 that the defense is not responsible for. It's just very... It's pathetic to turn the ball over 4 times on your own. Minshew was responsible for all 4 of them. He threw the interception. Going for Pittman, Denzel Ward just made a phenomenal play. And, Gardner Minshew continues to be a turnover issue. He continues to fumble. He continues to throw interceptions. And as we saw versus the Jaguars, he threw 3 interceptions, and I think he fumbled once. And then this week, he fumbled 3 times, and he threw an interception. That's not you're not going to win any football game turning the ball over 4 times. None. So, yeah, you could sit there and blame the refs. You can sit there and blame the defense. You can sit there and blame Darrell Baker, but unless you actually go back and watch the game, it's the offense had a big play in losing this game. Yeah, they kept them in the game, but the offense had a big part in losing this football game as well. And I know they have almost 456 yards of offense, but they couldn't not turn the ball over. And if you're going to turn the ball over, you're not going to win football games. It doesn't matter how many yards you get. You're basically gifting the opposing offense 3+ points. Or, they only have to go 20 plus yards to score a touchdown. And the Browns took advantage of that. Early on in the game, I believe they had, 14, 17 points off of turnovers in the first quarter, or the first quarter and a half. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad to say the least. And, like I'm going to repeat many times on this live, you can't just simply look at the refs and blame the refs. Yeah, that was... I wouldn't normally say this, but they did have a small part in the Colts' loss. A small part, not a big part. And I'm only saying a small part because the Colts, like I've just talked about, they turned the ball over 4 times. And they did have 456 yards of offense versus an elite defense, one of the best in the NFL. It's actually ranked number 1 going into this year in terms of yards allowed per game. And we put up 456. We were damn near on the path for 500. And yeah, Minshew put up 305 passing yards. He was 15 of 23. Threw 2 touchdowns. Ran for 2 touchdowns. But then again, once you get to those 4 turnovers, that completely cancels everything out. It cancels everything out. If you, at the end of the game say, oh, he's had 4 touchdowns. Nice. But if he also throws 4, and if he fumbles 3 times and he throws an interception, he's responsible for, 4 touchdowns with 4 turnovers, that's not a good ratio. That's not a good ratio. 1-to-1 is not a good ratio whatsoever. That's not how you're going to win football games. And another thing is, this Browns defense has not forced a lot of turnovers coming in the game. I believe it was like 3 or 4 turnovers coming in this game. It wasn't a lot at all. And today they get more turnovers in one game than they got in the entire season. This far. It's pathetic. It's pretty horrible. It's not how you're going to win. You're not going to beat anyone turning the ball over 4 times. And the Browns had at least 23 points off of turnovers. I think they had at least 20 points off of turnovers. Well, that's going to happen. You're not going to win any football games. And many times you got good field positions off of punts. Couldn't do anything with that. The offense, they kept the team in the game, but ultimately they lost the game. And, it's very difficult to understand it. It can sound weird and it can sound like it's not making sense, but, it's kind of like when you throw for 400 yards, but then at the same time you're turning the ball over 4 times a game. You could have scored a lot more. You could have, really taken over in this game. Instead, you threw 4 turnovers. And Gardner Minshew is responsible for all of them. Don't get me wrong. Gardner Minshew is one of those quarterbacks that's going to give you a shot to win any game. And, I wouldn't normally say he's the kind of quarterback that's going to give you a shot to win any game. He's not, is he really going to be the reason why you lose? Not normally, but he was a good reason why the Colts lost yesterday. And yeah, he's a backup quarterback for a reason. We've seen that yesterday. Backup quarterbacks tend to have highs. They tend to have lows. And when they have lows and highs, it tends to equal itself out. It tends to, what's the word I'm looking for? It tends to be the equalizer. I'm still looking for a different word, but I can't think of it. But you guys get what I'm trying to say. He's not great. He's all right. And he does have a really good team around him as well. Speaking of, what he has around him, let's start talking about some other things that are really nice. So, but before I do, I want to make one last point. With the 4 turnovers, but mainly with the blocked field goal. The field goal was blocked as well. So that's 3 points off the board. And then Gardner Minshew, when he fumbled the football, that was recovered for 7. So basically, that's a difference of 10 points right there. That's a 10-point difference. If you kick if you get that field goal, but you don't fumble, I don't know. It's just a difference of 10 points right there. It's a difference of 10 points. So you can't blame the refs on everything. You can't. Your offense had 4 turnovers. So, other than Minshew, let's talk about some other things that went well, and some things that really, that we have to be excited about, and are really that me. I was really happy to see yesterday. I can't talk for anyone else, but I will say, Jonathan Taylor. Now this is objective. Everyone knows this. This is the truth. Jonathan Taylor had his best game since returning 2 weeks ago. He had over 100 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. I believe he had 75 rushing yards, and I think he had almost 30 receiving yards. Maybe like 46, I think he had. Let me look up this game real quick. Let me get my numbers right. So, Jonathan Taylor, that is correct. He did rush 18 times for 75 yards. And he had 3 receptions for 45 yards. So, yeah, that is a way over. That's almost 125 yards. That's almost 125 yards. That's 120 yards of all-purpose yards. He had 1 rushing touchdown. And there was one really nice play. There was one really nice catch he had early on in the game. It was down the sidelines on a little wheel route. Caught it. He got a lick, and he got smoked. But, hey, he got it. That was an impressive catch. And while Jonathan Taylor had 18 carries for 75 yards, 4.2 yards per carry, 1 touchdown, that's a phenomenal stat line. That's great. Just because it's not 100 doesn't mean it's bad. That is a really good stat line, especially if we're playing an elite defense that did a very good job versus Christian McCaffrey last week. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the Browns did versus... I mean, I know Christian McCaffrey was, out for a portion of the game, and that Trent Williams and that interior of the 49ers offensive line is not great, but as we have known, Christian McCaffrey is incredible. 11 rushes, 43 yards, 3.9 yards per carry. Even when the other guys came in, they still didn't do great, but really couldn't run the ball because he kind of had to pass it and try to get something going. It was the end of the game. But ultimately, this Browns defense held the Niners to not less than 100 yards rushing, but they held the Niners to 17 points. They did definitely get a little fortunate with the missed field goal of Jake Moody, absolutely. But that doesn't take away how well the Browns defense is playing against the Niners, and then the Colts go ahead and drop 450 yards. I'm not saying whatsoever that the Colts offense is, that the Colts are better than the Niners. 100% not. The Niners are one of the best teams in the league, if not the best. But it was nice to see Jonathan Taylor run the way he did. And his offensive line looked great. And, when I was watching the Browns and the Niners game, Lincoln Tomlinson, Nick Bosa, no, he's on the Niners, but Lincoln Tomlinson and Myles Garrett, mainly Lincoln Tomlinson was in Brock Purdy's lap all day long. Lincoln Tomlinson didn't seem like he made that much of an impact in this game. I didn't see him do that much. I didn't see him in the lap of... Let's see. Yeah, I didn't see him in the lap of Gardner Minshew at all. Now, I did notice that we did struggle against Jordan Elliott. I felt like Jordan Elliott had himself quite the game versus us. I know, he does have 1 sack, 2 tackles, 1 assist, but, I mean, he made much more of an impact than just 1 sack and 2 tackles, 1 assist. I noticed he did quite a bit against us yesterday. We were really struggling. Was it Ryan Kelly? Was it a little bit of Will Fries? Maybe. But that's something you got to shore up. Even on, I believe it was on Quentin Nelson, he really got past Quentin Nelson really well one play, and that was tough to watch for Big Q being paid $20 million a year, and you're gonna have bad reps, but man, come on, that was not a good rep. So nice to see Jonathan Taylor back. Nice to see him playing well because him coming back from the ankle, we paid him all that money. I'm really happy that he's coming back and he's starting to play more and he's starting to look like his old self. When he was playing yesterday, every time I touched the ball, I could just really tell that he looked like him. That Jonathan Taylor looked like himself, and I was really impressed with Jonathan Taylor. I was really happy with what I saw from him. Every time he touched the ball and he was moving, you just kind of seen Jonathan Taylor, and you just see the way he moves versus Zach Moss. So Zach Moss has been absolutely awesome for us. He's been great, but I'll say what's my train of thought? I lost my train of thought. But Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor just moves different than Zach Moss. Zach Moss is no Jonathan Taylor. He's been great for us. Jonathan Taylor has the extra gear. He has that, the extra oof to him when it comes to being elusive and juking guys out of their shoes, or even just being powerful, just like Zach Moss is. Although I do think Zach Moss is more of a punching back than Jonathan Taylor. I was really happy with the performance of Jonathan Taylor. I think he's back, and I think it's time to expect him to really take over that feature back role as we continue into 2023. So the running backs played pretty well. I was happy with the running backs, Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor, even Gardner Minshew. He ran for 2 touchdowns. He ran for 29 yards, so Minshew had a good day on the ground for a quarterback. And then, all right, then we have the receivers. Let's talk about this receiving room right now. I'm really impressed. I think we may have 2 number 1 wide receivers in this team. And I know it sounds kind of crazy to put Josh Downs in that conversation and say Josh Downs is that. But I would say Josh Downs has really impressed me on that. Josh Downs has been absolutely phenomenal. He's been great. And I remember a couple weeks ago there was some kind of graphic post by someone. I'm not sure by exactly who, but the graphic was Marvin Harrison had 20 catches, and I'm not 100% sure if this was after 5 or 6 weeks, but Josh Downs had 23 catches throughout the first 5 or 6 weeks, and Marvin Harrison had 20, and I believe Brandon Stokely was the other guy on that list, and it just goes to show how well Joshua Downs is playing. It's his rookie year. I've been so impressed by him. He's making a lot of catches. He's getting wide open. He's making it very easy for Gardner Minshew, and even when Anthony Richardson was in, he made it very easy to throw to him because he gets wide open. He knows how to get open. He knows how to attack coverages, and he catches the ball really well. He's very, very consistent when catching the ball, and he really reminds me of T.Y. Hilton in so many ways. He's not as fast as T.Y. Hilton, but he does really remind me of T.Y. Hilton in a lot of ways, and I'm really happy to have Joshua Downs and Michael Pittman Jr. on our football team. Then, Alec Pierce, he had a good game yesterday. I believe he had like 3 catches, 50-some yards. He had a decent day, a decent day yesterday compared to what he usually does. He usually has a drop here and there. Usually not very impressed with him, but I thought Alec Pierce had a few nice catches yesterday. 3 receptions, 53 yards, 17.7 yards per reception. That is nice to see. And then Michael Pittman Jr., that man had a really nice game. He had 2 receptions, 83 yards, 41.5 yards per reception, and 1 touchdown. So majority of those yards are coming from that big, I believe it was 75, 70. It definitely was a 70-plus yard touchdown reception. That was a big-time reception, big-time play. It was really, he caught it. It was a tough catch to make, and then he had guys trying to tackle him. He was like, nah, you're going to have to wrap up. You're going to have to try harder than that, buddy. And Michael Pittman Jr., he just did a phenomenal job on that play, and it was awesome to see because Michael Pittman's been quiet. We haven't seen too much from him, and if he doesn't make that play, I'd say he would have been a huge loser from yesterday's game because he dropped a different pass that he probably would have been in for a touchdown. I don't even remember if the Colts ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive. I think it might have been a field goal, but all in all, Pittman dropped the ball earlier, and that's what confuses me about Pittman. He is one of those receivers. He catches these footballs and these passes that he should never catch. And then he goes ahead and drops passes. He's pretty much wide open and can go ahead and not walk into the end zone, but he could really just, take his time going to the end zone. Like there's, there are people, there's a corner a couple yards away from him, but in the NFL that's like wide open, and he was close to scoring. Michael Pittman Jr. would have 100% scored if he caught that. So I would like to see Michael Pittman Jr. be a little more consistent in catching the football because he does have these times where he just drops a football here and there, and every player has a drop here and there. Every receiver struggles, but Pittman is looking for that big contract and that number 1 receiver. He's looking for a number 1 receiver type of money, and I feel like Josh Downs is that right now. I mean, I know he's a rookie, but Josh Downs has been phenomenal this year so far. Let's just take a peek at the numbers for Josh Downs versus Michael Pittman. I feel like Josh Downs has been outperforming Pittman in the numbers game. But let's take a peek real quick at Joshua Downs and see how his numbers are so far this year. And wow, Joshua Downs, he has 33 catches, 401 receiving yards, 12.2 yards per reception, and as long as 59 yards, which we saw yesterday, and he has 2 touchdowns so far. A touchdown in the last 2 games. Joshua Downs has been awesome for us, and having 401 receiving yards, he's on pace he's possibly on pace for 1,000 receiving yards. Now let's take a peek on Pittman. Now I know Pittman, he's awesome. He's been really good for us, but I don't feel like Pittman has. Oh no, Pittman has almost 500. So Michael Pittman, he has one game over 100. And, he has 2 touchdowns as well, 42 catches. So he definitely has, a bit more production. But and I will say, Josh Downs just does share some snaps with Isaiah McKenzie once in a while. But still, for being a rookie, us Colts, this Colts team and us Colts fans are not used to seeing a rookie, especially a wide receiver, step up and make big plays. So it's really nice to see that we may have two really good receivers. Michael Pittman Jr. is that type of guy to go up there and just make the big time catches, contested catches. Michael Pittman is not really known for getting open, his routes, his route running. It's good. It's good route running. He has decent speed. But really, Pittman is known for those contested catches or beautiful contested catches. He's very good at those. As we see versus the Ravens, he always catches crazy passes versus the Ravens. And then you have him making that wild catch yesterday. He makes those crazy catches, but I would like to see him catch the ball more consistently because I feel like sometimes he just does not catch the ball as consistently as you would like. But hey, it is what it is. 42 receptions, 489 yards, 11.6 yards per reception. 75 is as long from yesterday, so it was a 75-yarder. So yeah, I mean, Pittman, he's been very good for us, and Joshua Downs, he's been very good. I'm really happy to see us getting two receivers. Now we do have to find that third receiver. I think Isaiah McKenzie should get a little more playing time than Alec Pierce. Now, the problem with that is it's a lot less size on the field than Chris Ballard. He likes size, and Shane Steichen probably really likes the size out there as well. But I mean, who's making more plays? Who can get open better? Who has better hands? I would say Isaiah McKenzie is more reliable and the better target, and I can possibly see Josh Downs starting to get even more time on the outside, which I think he should. I think he would provide a nice threat there. But, even if we do trade for Jerry Jeudy, I think Pittman, Downs, and Jeudy would be an awesome trio. I'm not as high on Jeudy as a lot of people are. I mean, he has some of the best route running out there. He's very shifty, very athletic. He's got some, he's very fast, and he's got some height to him. But he does struggle with injuries, and so he's not really, is not really reliable being out in the field, and his hands aren't really reliable either. He could run some of the best routes, but he just flat out drops some passes, and that's very disappointing because he's such a good router and gets so wide open, but he really does struggle to bring the passes in once in a while. That's something I'm kind of worried about with him. I hope he can, so if we do trade for him, I do hope it's not anything more than a fourth. I think anything more than a fourth for Jerry Jeudy is a little too much considering his injury history. Hey, his suspect hands. He struggles to catch the ball consistently. You have, honestly, I don't know if I'd rather Isaiah McKenzie, but I do think Isaiah McKenzie. I'd rather a receiver with more reliable hands like Isaiah McKenzie, or even if there's someone else out there you want to go out there and grab him. I'm not really a huge fan of Jerry Jeudy, especially with him catching the football. He's not great at catching the football, and if he comes here, I don't really just want to trade Alec Pierce for Jerry Jeudy. Kind of want to think about it. Do you want the guy that's going to, let's see, so Alec Pierce and Jerry Jeudy, they're both very fast receivers. The difference is Pierce is a little bigger. He's like 2 or 3 inches bigger than Jerry Jeudy. Other than that, is there anything about Alec Pierce's game that you would take over Jeudy? Jeudy is a much better route runner. Judy's hands are probably about the same. Both of their hands are very suspect. They're both very fast. And I think Jerry Jeudy would provide a phenomenal complement to Michael Pittman and Joshua Downs, but I just don't think he is the guy. I don't think we should trade for him. And, we've seen him talking a lot lately. He's frustrated, with his usage and him not playing well. Haven't been a fan of Jerry Jeudy, and I think that's someone that we kind of need to keep out of here. I'd rather, you look at this draft and you look at how we're playing. We've actually been playing pretty well, but even if we're, in the middle of that round, I mean, we've seen last year 4 receivers went in a row, and last year's draft from the 20th started. You had Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston. I can't remember anyone else. Jordan Addison went to the Vikings. No. I actually think Jordan Addison actually fell pretty far, but I can't remember. I can't remember if Jordan Addison was drafted in the first round or not. He's awesome receiver, either way. But, there were 4 guys drafted in the 20s, and Zay Flowers looks absolutely phenomenal. He looks every bit of being a first-round pick. Now, the Ravens are working him to death, but, I mean, he's been awesome. Quentin Johnson, he's been a disappointment coming out of TCU. Didn't really play great comp. He's very inconsistent. Route tree is very limited. But we're getting off topic here. I just kind of want to say, the point I was starting to get across is this class is very impressive. This is a very good receiving class. It's very deep. I don't really know too much about the guys, so I cannot comment on them myself. I don't start watching film. I don't start watching and really going back and watching some of these games to really see who they are until like November-ish. So that's when I can come back and give you more of my thoughts on the receivers coming out this year. The only receiver I know a lot about, and he's very good. He's a son of a former Indianapolis Colts superstar, a Hall of Famer, Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. is absolutely phenomenal. He is incredible at Ohio State. He is incredible at Ohio State. He's just freaking awesome, and I would really like a guy like that. But other than that, I don't really know who else to look through. That's really it. I'd have to look through more. I think Xavier Worthy is receiver. I think he's one I've heard of. But I will definitely go back and go through these receivers and give you guys my thoughts when I know more. I'm not gonna, I don't really know a lot about them, so I'm not really gonna sit here and act like I do. So but yeah, this receiving room is actually very impressive, and I'm happy where it's heading. I think there's a lot to like about this receiving room. We're kind of missing that one other guy, but I mean, Isaiah McKenzie, he's great. I really like Isaiah McKenzie, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. I do feel like the depth is a little thin. We did lose a couple of guys. Ashton Dulin is one of them to season-ending injury. So maybe we could tap into that receiver depth in this class this year. They have a lot of good receivers, but we will see. But I am really happy with how the receivers have been so far this year. And I think we have our answer, and we finally have a couple of receivers, not just one. And whether it was T.Y. Hilton, a little while ago, a couple of years ago, or now it's just Michael Pittman Jr. We have other guys that can make plays. Yeah, Michael Pittman Jr. You have Joshua Downs. Now, is this a product of Shane Steichen and how well he works with his players? It could be, but the fact is Joshua Downs is stepping up. Michael Pittman Jr. He's been playing good. And we have Isaiah McKenzie. Alec Pierce still has a lot to prove. He can be good. He has a lot to prove, and does not seem like he's a guy. Alec Pierce kind of reminded me of Dante Moncrief. There's some games where he looks really good, making some really big plays, and then, there's other plays where he's just, he just can't get the job done. But yeah, that's really what I got for the receivers here. And then you have the offensive line. The offensive line looked pretty good. I think they blocked really well for Jonathan Taylor. I think they blocked well for Zach Moss, but they really struggled versus Myles Garrett, and rightfully so. Myles Garrett is a beast, and I believe they got 4 sacks on us, so that's not really good, but the offensive line struggled versus Myles Garrett mainly. Garrett had 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a field goal block. Myles Garrett is, he's kind of responsible for 10 points in that game, kind of, because, the one fumble he forced, it was recovered for a touchdown in the end zone, and then he blocked a field goal. So, he's kind of responsible for 10 points there, and that is impressive, really wild. And, that specifically is not going to show up in the stat sheet. It's not going to it's not going to show up when you're looking at stats. It's not going to. But I will say, the offensive line did really struggle versus Myles Garrett. He wrecked this game, especially in the first half. He was playing well. The second half, I thought, he's kind of calmed down. We didn't see too much from it, but the offensive line really struggled versus Myles Garrett. He kind of changed the game and didn't look good there. But and then on the defense side of things, like I said, the defense, I thought they played all right. I thought Dale Dingbo looked good. I thought we got a lot of pressure throughout the day. Kenny Moore had a sack and a half. You had Dale Dingbo. He had a half a sack. So you really got a sack and a half from. You got 75% of your sackage from those nickel blitzes for Kenny Moore. So, but I'll still say I saw a lot of pressure throughout the day. I thought Buckner played well, and I was really impressed. We are gonna go to the run defense and talk about the run defense in a minute. So, in the beginning of the game, you really allow the huge Jerome Ford touchdown. I believe it was Jerome Ford that got it. Yes, it was Jerome Ford. It was like a 70 some yard touchdown run, and 70, 60 some minutes looking like, the Colts defense is going to stop on third down. They're going to get the ball. No. Jerome Ford ends up rushing for a huge, big time run that kind of, made us feel, we don't have Grover Stewart. This is going to be issue all day long in games to come. We're playing Alvin Kamara. We're playing some teams that really like to run the ball and can run the ball well. But then I will be honest, I thought that this run defense really showed up after that play. After that play, other than that play, they did have about 150 yards, 150 rushing yards. Yes, they had exactly 150 rushing yards. But, after that, I felt like the rushing game was really limited for the Browns. I thought the Colts did a very good job. Kareem Hunt, 10 carries, 31 yards, 3.0 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns for Kareem Hunt. So on the ground, the red zone, yeah. There was another spot, there's other time in the game. I thought a lot of the Browns' yards on the ground came from 2 drives, really. There was one drive where Minshew fumbled, or it was a blocked field goal, I think it was, and the Browns started, the Denzel Ward brought it all the way to like the 25-yard line. They ran it every single play, and they got it. So, really was like 100 yards came from 2 drives, and that's not good. It's not good allowing that long of a run and allowing that what you saw there, that bad rushing defense on that drive. But other than that, I was really impressed with this run defense. I was really impressed with, the guys were stepping up. Eric Johnson ended up getting hurt. That's not good. I hope he can get healthy. Although, I was not impressed with him prior to this game. Didn't really think he was that guy. Never really made a difference. But I was kind of happy with how he played in this game. And then you had Pierce Strong. He had 8 carries, 25 yards, 3.1 yards per carry. Marquise going had that 1 carry for 17 yards. That was that drive where the field goal was blocked and the Browns just ran it every single time and eventually got it. Philip Walker had 3 rushes. He did some QB things, 3 rushes for 3 yards. But Jerome Ford, 11 rushes, 74 yards, and a majority of it came from that big run. So really, it wasn't that. Allowing 150 yards is not good. And it's not good that they allow 150 yards. But it was really on 2 drives that really struggled. But other than that, I was really impressed with this Colts run defense, considering you didn't have Grover Stewart, and he is suspended for 6 games. So that's a good sign for the next 5 weeks now, because he's out for 5 weeks now. But I thought that was a good sign. So the run defense struggled at times in this game, but I thought it was better than what we saw in those 2 drives that we watched. But it is what it is. It is what it is, and I believe that's really all I got for you guys. The pass defense, the pass defense was wonderful yesterday. You played Philip Walker. Philip Walker was 15 to 32, 278 yards, 1 interception. Well, I wasn't really too impressed with him. I don't think he's a very good quarterback, as we saw yesterday. He's not a very good quarterback, and that's why the Browns, really ran the ball a lot. But they did run. They did throw it. 32 times? What was it? 20? No, I'm looking at the wrong game here. But no, they actually did throw it 32 times, I think. Yeah, so they actually did throw it 32 times, but it felt like they did run the ball a lot. It was over 30 yards. It was over 30 carries. So that's running the ball quite a bit. And but it's just kind of the way the game went. And Philip Walker just didn't really play well. And in the beginning, Deshaun Watson had 1 for 5 through 1 interception. So the Colts got 2 interceptions. And Julian Blackmon, let's talk about Julian Blackmon. Julian Blackmon was phenomenal yesterday. He had that interception, almost had the second one-hander. That would have been awesome. Ultimately didn't come down with it, but I thought Julian Blackmon was getting in the backfield. I thought he made so many big plays yesterday. Julius Brents unfortunately went down. I hope he's okay. I believe he went down with a quad. He didn't return. But yeah, guys, I think that's all I really got for this stream. If you really have anything, I will open up the chat. If you guys would like to say anything, comments, questions, concerns, you want to talk about the Rams, you want to talk about anything, I will sit here for the next 5 minutes, maybe just talk my head out about something random. And if you guys have something you want to say, drop it. Let's go. Let's hear it. If not, oh well. It is what it is. But, I'll sit here for the next 1 or 2 minutes. And if there's nothing that pops up, I'm just going to hop off. So, yeah, that's all I really got for you guys today. The Browns beat the Colts 39-38. they did a pretty good job. Well, I mean, the refs did a pretty good job in this game as well, but they did a good job in terms of getting a lot of turnovers on Gardner Minshew. They did allow a lot of yardage, but I mean, I guess they did what they do, and they won. The offense did what it had to do. Although I will say the offense was really fortunate to have some great starting positions at some points, but hey, it is what it is. It's how the game plays, and the ball rolled to the Browns side of this game. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be it. I'm gonna hop off. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. That's all I have. I just wanted to do a recap, give you my thoughts on the game, go through it a little bit, and that's it for me. So I appreciate you guys for tuning by. If you enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on so you miss any future videos. This is the JW Sports Talk Show signing off. And I appreciate you members, Marshman Gunner and Red the Rat. Great members. Never feel like you have to become a member, but if you do, you will get a little extra. You're going to get a little more involvement. So that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning into the JW Sports Talk Show. I will see you guys tomorrow.